when innocent souls murdered by a psychopath rise from the cane fields to seek vengeful justice for the sins hidden by this town's people. The film is set in a remote town called West Billins, where a man named Jimmy often spends his time at a bar owned by a man named Nigel. There, they talk about Jimmy's plan to rent out his cabin to a woman named Hanna. Jimmy also shares his intention to clear the sugarcane field behind the cabin by leveling all the crops. At first, Nigel doesn't believe that Jimmy would actually destroy his own sugarcane field, since sugarcane is the main source of wealth for the town. But since Jimmy's decision is final, Nigel can't do anything about it. After all, the field belongs to Jimmy, and only he has the right to decide what to do with it. After finishing their conversation, Jimmy heads home drunk.
Thanks for...
However, on his way back, he accidentally hits a child, causing his car to swerve and almost crash into a ditch. When Jimmy gets out to check on the child he hit, the child mysteriously disappears. Jimmy looks around to find where the child went, but suddenly he's dragged into the sugarcane field by an invisible force. The scene then shifts to Hanna, who is driving toward West Billins, heading to the cabin she's renting from Jimmy. However, she becomes increasingly confused because Jimmy hasn't answered any of her calls. Along the way, Hanna notices several police officers at the scene of an accident, retrieving the body of a man. Unbeknownst to her, the body belongs to Jimmy, who was found dead in the river. When Hanna arrives at Jimmy's cabin, she grows anxious because she still can't reach him. Seeing a nearby house, she decides to go there to ask the residents about Jimmy's whereabouts, since he was supposed to be there to hand over the cabin keys. At that house, Hanna meets John and his wife Ellie. Hanna explains that she came to ask about Jimmy because she's renting his cabin. Hearing this, John decides to accompany her to the cabin. John himself doesn't know where Jimmy has gone, as he hasn't seen him all day. On their way there, John starts a conversation with Hanna, telling her that the cabin actually used to belong to him. However, due to certain circumstances, he was forced to sell it to Jimmy, along with several of his fields. John then tells Hanna about the cabin's past, how he and his family once lived there, and how hard it was for them to let go of the property. But financial difficulties and other problems eventually left them with no choice but to sell it. Hanna explains that she came here simply to relax and calm her mind from the stress she's been going through. She also mentions that not far from where they are, there was an accident that seemed to have claimed a man's life. Hearing that, John quickly drives to the crash site Hanna mentioned. But before leaving, he gives her the cabin key, since Jimmy had left it with him earlier. When John arrives at the scene, a police officer named Wilkins tells him that Jimmy was found dead, floating in the river. The initial assumption is that Jimmy slipped while peeing by the river and drowned. However, the incident raises suspicion, especially because Jimmy's car was also found crashed nearby. The odd combination of those two things leads to many unanswered questions. Why was Jimmy's car crashed if he had only stopped to pee? This question only made the situation more mysterious, suggesting that there might be another force behind Jimmy's death. Wilkins, the officer handling the case, plans to conduct a deep investigation to uncover the truth, carefully examining every piece of evidence to find out what really happened and whether there was a motive behind the tragic event. Night falls, and Hanna, still unable to sleep, grows puzzled when she sees many red lights glowing in different spots across the area. The next morning, while jogging near the sugarcane field, she becomes curious after seeing stones arranged into a symbol and noticing an abandoned bicycle.
To become whole, rich. So tight.
After exercising, Hanna reads several newspapers and the truth behind her stress is revealed. Her son, Joey, disappeared in West Billins and has never been found. It wasn't only Joey. 4 other children disappeared around the same time. The police launched a massive investigation and eventually identified the kidnapper, a psychopath named Leonard. Authorities found the bodies of the 4 children in Leonard's home in West Billins, the same area where Hanna is now staying. However, Joey's fate remains unknown since his body has never been found. Despite the odds, Hanna desperately clings to hope that Joey is still alive, as he is the only light in her life after her divorce. With no one else left, Hanna came to this remote town determined to find her son and pray he is still alive. Leonard was officially charged with the kidnapping and murder of the children and sentenced to decades in prison, but he committed suicide while incarcerated. With no new leads on Joey's case, the police under Wilkins eventually closed the investigation. Suddenly, John arrives, startling Hanna as she mourns. At first, John assumes Hanna is a journalist writing an article, but Hanna quickly explains she is a mother searching for her missing son, and Leonard is the suspected kidnapper. John expresses his sympathy. He then informs Hanna about Jimmy's death from the previous accident and, in a gesture of kindness, invites her to dinner at his house. Hanna gladly accepts and later heads to John's home.
No, thanks.
What? You don't drink? You love a good vino.
Ellie asks about Hanna's husband, then realizes Hanna is divorced. The atmosphere turns awkward when Hanna notices a framed photo of a young girl and boldly asks who she is. Ellie explains they couldn't have children, so they adopted a girl named Violet, but the mood grows heavy when John suddenly adds that Violet has passed away. Ellie, still unable to accept her child's death, quietly leaves the dining table.
Excuse me, please. Mind if I ask how it happened?
Hanna asks John how Violet died, and John openly explains that Violet and several other children were on a summer camping trip when their bus fell into a river, killing all the children except the driver. The tragedy occurred just days after Joey went missing. Ever since Violet's death, Ellie has gone to the sugarcane field every night trying to find her daughter, often hallucinating that she sees Violet playing there. Hanna then asks about the red lights, and John explains they are warnings for parents to keep children away from the river due to the many child disappearances in town.
What are the red lights on the other side of the river?
I'm trying to move on.
The next day, Hanna decides to visit Leonard's abandoned house, hoping to find clues about Joey's disappearance. As soon as she steps inside, she is startled by the sound of a door opening. It turns out to be Wilkins, who catches her trespassing. Hanna and Wilkins begin talking, and Hanna demands to know why he stopped searching for Joey. With guilt in his voice, Wilkins explains that despite searching every corner of Leonard's home, they never found any leads. Wilkins suspects that Joey's body may still be somewhere in the sugarcane fields, but the police faced serious challenges. A lack of manpower and the vast size of the fields made the search nearly impossible. The only way to find Joey would be to burn the fields. But destroying someone's crops just to search for a missing child would cause major losses, especially since the town's economy depends heavily on sugarcane harvests. They couldn't sacrifice the livelihood of the entire town for a boy who might not even be there. Even after hearing all this, Hanna insists that Wilkins continue the search. In his helplessness, Wilkins apologizes for everything Hanna has gone through, but without solid evidence, they were forced to stop.
You look out there. Can't keep poking around here by yourself.
The next morning, Hanna goes out for another jog, but this time she is shocked to see children playing in the sugarcane field. At the same moment, she runs into Ellie and asks whether she saw the children who just ran into the field. Instead of answering, Ellie urges Hanna to leave the area. After John told her about Joey, Ellie approached Hanna to offer emotional support, understanding exactly how it feels to lose a child. Still, Ellie reminds Hanna that she needs rest. Before Ellie leaves, Hanna again asks about the children she saw, yet Ellie remains silent, as if hiding something. That night, while resting in the cabin, Hanna is terrified when she suddenly sees the ghostly figure of a young boy in a shirt. Panicked, she rushes to John's house and tells him what she witnessed. John quickly checks the cabin but finds nothing. To comfort her, he gives her a flashlight with a red light to help her feel safer in the dark. Suddenly, John urges Hanna to leave town and stop searching for Joey. His unexpected warning confuses Hanna, and she grows suspicious when she realizes everyone in town uses red lights, from houses to flashlights, even John's car lights. John refuses to explain the truth, which only intensifies Hanna's curiosity. Determined, she vows not to leave until she uncovers what the townspeople are hiding. The next day, Hanna visits a bar to calm herself and shows Nigel a photo of Leonard, asking about his past work. Nigel responds that everyone knows Leonard worked in John's sugarcane fields.
Drakes?
That's until they found out who he was.
Simpkin worked for you.
Shocked, Hanna immediately goes to John. She begs him to tell her the truth about Leonard, the man responsible for her son's disappearance. John finally explains that Leonard didn't only work for him, he also worked for Jimmy and Tom Evans. Hanna then asks who Tom Evans is, and John reveals that Tom is the bus driver who survived the tragic river crash that killed Violet and the other children. Hearing this, Hanna asks for Tom's address, and once John provides it, she rushes there. When she arrives, Hanna asks Tom how well he knew Leonard. She hopes that even one small clue from Tom could help her find her missing son, and if needed, Tom could also explain what really happened in the bus accident. Tom finally explains that before the accident happened, a boy wearing a shirt named Max suddenly appeared in front of his bus holding a bicycle, causing Tom to panic and swerve sharply to avoid hitting him. However, this sudden maneuver led to the bus plunging into the river and resulted in the deaths of many children, including Violet, John's daughter. Tom survived only by sheer luck. He deeply regrets being unable to save the innocent children.
Lock the wheel to miss him.
After hearing Tom's story directly, Hanna searches the internet for details about the bus accident, but she discovers something strange. The news reports say Max was inside the bus when the accident occurred, while Tom insists Max was riding a bicycle outside the bus. This contradiction raises new questions and increases Hanna's curiosity. The report also states that Max drowned. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door. It's Ellie bringing Hanna some cake. Ellie talks about how Violet appears every night in the sugarcane field, which is why Ellie always goes there, longing to see her daughter again. Not only Violet, but the spirits of the other children who died there also appear. Ellie says she talks to Violet every night, and although she knows it is only Violet's spirit, she still feels happy being with her. Ellie then explains that the townspeople use red lights to keep the spirits away if they don't want to be near them. Red light is the spirit's weakness.
When they brought me into that hospital to identify, just this has got to be more than, but now we never will.
The next morning, Hanna is shocked when she finds her son's shoes suddenly lying behind the cabin. Panicked, she calls Wilkins and asks him to come and investigate. At first, Wilkins doubts the shoes belong to Joey, thinking they might belong to someone else, but Hanna insists they were Joey's favorite shoes. Wilkins suspects someone might be playing tricks on Hanna, but Hanna questions how anyone could know what shoes Joey last wore. Wilkins then urges Hanna to leave town before the situation takes a toll on her mental health, but Hanna refuses. She will not leave until she finds her son dead or alive. Wilkins agrees to send the shoes to the city lab for testing, but warns Hanna that if nothing comes from it, she must leave West Billins.
Someone's trying to prank you.
Shoes he was wearing that day. This field.
Okay, you stop! Send him to the city for testing.
That night while sleeping, Hanna wakes up to loud noises on the roof, but finds nothing outside. At the same time, she notices several cars heading toward the sugarcane fields. Remembering Ellie's words about the children's spirits appearing every night, Hanna follows the cars and is stunned to find many women gathered in the field, reuniting with the spirits of their lost children. Though the children are no longer alive, the mothers are overjoyed to see them. Suddenly, the ghost of Max appears and stares directly at Hanna. Unlike the other gentle spirits, Max radiates a dark, vengeful aura, terrifying Hanna and forcing her to flee. Hanna runs into John and tells him what she saw. Believing Hanna is losing her sanity, John brings her to his house. There, Hanna explains that Joey's shoes were placed behind her cabin. Maybe the children's spirits are trying to help her find Joey. But instead of comforting Hanna, John again insists she pack her things and leave, saying staying here will only harm her. Hanna becomes confused. Both John and Wilkins keep urging her to leave this town. Hanna continues searching for information about Max and his parents. From her research, she discovers that a man named Clayton is Max's father. Unable to cope with Max's death, Clayton suffered a severe mental breakdown, even attacking police investigators and the bus driver involved in the accident. The next day, Hanna goes looking for Clayton, who now lives in an old shack. He was once wealthy, but after Max died, he lost his will to live, and his life fell apart. Hanna comes only to learn the truth about how Max really died, as the news reported that Max was inside the bus when the accident happened. Hanna understands Clayton's pain, as she has experienced the same loss. Eventually, Clayton tells her the truth. Before the accident, Max was riding his bicycle in the sugarcane fields. This proves the news story claiming Max was inside the bus was false. When Max saw the bus driven by Tom Evans, he signaled for a ride home. Tom, who knew Max, should have stopped. But instead, the bus crashed, killing many children, including Max, who drowned. Clayton then shows Hanna a photo of Leonard working for John just before the accident. Hanna tells Clayton she has seen Max in the sugarcane field, but Clayton understands Hanna only saw Max's spirit.
Max was on that bus.
I don't want my powder.
On her way back, Hanna spots Violet's ghost inside Leonard's house, as if trying to tell her something. Hanna enters the house and hears a picture frame fall. When she picks it up, she finds another photo hidden behind it, showing John with Leonard. On the back is a note revealing that Leonard and John had a connection. Hanna realizes Leonard was John's adopted son. As night approaches, Hanna decides to rest, but suddenly, Violet appears and warns her that Max will hurt her if she doesn't leave. However, Hanna refuses to go until she finds her son. Shockingly, Violet offers to help and reveals that Joey is buried somewhere in the sugarcane field. Violet leads Hanna to the spot where Joey is buried. Before Hanna can start digging, Violet urges her to run. Max is coming. Hanna quickly flees to John's house and confronts him about the photo, asking if Leonard is truly his adopted son. John finally admits it and expresses deep regret for adopting Leonard, who turned out to be a psychopath who kidnapped and murdered innocent children, including Joey. Everything was discovered during the bus tragedy. Max, riding his bicycle that day, accidentally witnessed Leonard burying the bodies of children he had killed in the sugarcane fields. Terrified, Max screamed for help as Leonard chased him, trying to kill him. John heard Max's cries, but his limp prevented him from reaching them. At that moment, Tom's bus passed by, and when Max suddenly ran into the road in panic, Tom swerved, leading to the fatal accident. John apologizes to Hanna, explaining even Ellie does not know Leonard was their adopted son. Hanna then suggests to John that they burn all the sugarcane fields to free the trapped spirits of the children so they can finally rest in peace. However, they know doing so would harm many people. Ellie would never agree because if the fields were destroyed, she would never again see Violet's spirit, and the other parents would feel the same. They would lose the chance to see their children's spirits forever. From the beginning, John actually wanted to burn the fields to release the children's souls, who were trapped there because of Leonard's crimes. But after seeing the joy on Ellie's face each time she saw Violet, John couldn't bring himself to do it. Hanna urges John to let Violet go, just as she has accepted Joey's passing. Moved by Hanna's words, John decides to burn the fields to free the children's spirits. Without realizing it, the vengeful spirit of Max appears behind him as he goes to get the tools to start the fire. Hanna hears noise from the shed. With her heart pounding, she approaches and finds John lying unconscious. When she checks his pulse and finds none, panic strikes. John has died. Realizing Max's spirit caused John's death, Hanna becomes determined to end the suffering of the trapped children. She believes burning the sugarcane fields will release them and bring them peace. The fire spreads quickly, consuming the fields. As Hanna watches the flames, she suddenly receives a vision of the past, revealing why Max became an evil spirit. Max did not die by drowning when the bus crashed. Leonard caught him right after the accident. To silence Max, who had witnessed the murders, Leonard drowned him. Tom, who survived the accident, and John both saw Leonard kill Max but chose to hide the truth. Leonard was later arrested for the murders, but Max's spirit remained full of rage, especially toward Tom and John for covering up what happened. After the vision, Hanna sees Ellie crying in shock as she watches the burning fields. Ellie breaks down in grief, devastated that she did not get to say goodbye to Violet. Meanwhile, Wilkins and other officers arrive to inspect the burned land. Hanna shows Wilkins where Violet told her Joey was buried. Hanna breaks down as they uncover Joey's grave. It truly is him. She collapses in grief, heartbroken to confirm her son's death, yet relieved to finally know the truth and lay him to rest. In the final scene, Hanna says goodbye to Ellie before returning to the city. Ellie, who has now lost Violet and John at the same time, hugs Hanna tightly. The two women, both broken by loss, hold each other for support, knowing comfort and compassion are the only way to survive such pain, and the story ends.